And we also have a new special guest, Dr. Carole Lieberman from Beverly Hills. I was just out there, Doctor. You are a forensic psychiatrist, a legal analyst, an expert witness of film and print fame. And I love two things about your biography when we're talking about R. Kelly. You are called the Dr. Freud of modern times, as I understand it. That's a pretty amazing distinction. I actually may be giving you a call afterwards. Maybe you can help me out. And we also have, you wrote a book called Bad Boys, Why We Love Them, How We Live With Them, and When to Leave Them. So, Doc, before we get to that really descriptive title of a book that may play very well into what's going on here, you clearly have those qualifications. So I want to play a short clip for you to listen to and come back to you on the other end.
One case in which you were acquitted. I'm talking about the other cases where women have come forward and said, R. Kelly had sex with me when I was under the age of 18. R. Kelly was abusive to me emotionally.
Whether they're old rumors, new rumors,
Why would they
future
say this
rumors,
about you?
Not true.
Well,
How stupid would it be for R. Kelly, with all I've been through in my way, way past, to hold somebody, let alone 4, 5, 6, 50, you said. How stupid would I be to do that?
I didn't say you were holding.
That's stupid, guys.
I didn't.
Is this camera on me?
Yes, it's on.
That's stupid. Use your common sense. Don't forget the blogs. Forget how you feel about me. Hate me if you want to, love me if you want, but just use your common sense. How stupid would it be for me to, with my crazy past and what I've been through, right now I just think I need to be a monster and hold girls against their will, chain them up in my basement, and don't let them eat and don't let them out unless they need some shoes down the street from their uncle.
Robert,
Stop it. Y'all quit playing.
Well, you know, I don't know. That's a defense that many people, up to including Bill Cosby. How stupid would I be? I call it arrogance. Doctor, you may call it something else, because what is interesting to me is the question that was asked by Gayle King was about the violence and the fear, and there he is acting out the way he is. What do you see from a forensic point of view?
Well, first, the very kinds of things that he is being accused of, his volatility, his aggressiveness, flying off the handle, and also a lot of paranoia and denial. You know, he says, why would I do this with my crazy past, or, you know, my horrible past, with all I've been through in the past? And that actually, it's his past that has caused him to do all of this. He was sexually abused by an older woman from the time he was around 7 or 8 to around 14. And that alone would make him want to control women. Here, he was a little boy under this older woman's control, her sexual abuse, and now he is what's called identifying with the aggressor. He's identifying with the person who abused him by being the aggressor in his relationship with all these women who he is holding hostage, essentially. And then he also had some other, and you know, they made vows to each other and so on. I mean, and they were playing someplace where she got pushed into the water, and she was pushed down with the water and ultimately died while she was calling out his name. So he felt helpless. He couldn't save her. And that goes into abandonment. He doesn't want women to abandon him. I believe he has a borderline personality disorder, amongst other things. I mean, maybe he's, I don't know if he's abusing substances. That would certainly explain some of this behavior. Also, he could be manic depressive, which would kind of go along with his paranoia. So there are a lot of psychiatric issues going on. Also, he tells this interesting story about his mother. He was in an interview some time ago, and he told a story about how when he was a boy, he and his mother would go have breakfast in, I think he said McDonald's, and they didn't have much money, and they would share coffee and pastry, and he would turn the cup around so that he would drink from the side of the cup that had his mother's lipstick on it, and he was in love with his mother and asked her to marry him. Now, there is, talk about Freud, according to Freud, there is a phenomenon of an Oedipal phase, but the way he describes all of this is beyond the normal Oedipal phase and into something rather abnormal.
So I just want to switch it over to Rachel for a minute. Being a woman, kind of getting to that question we were saying before, as a defense lawyer, would these be things that you would try to bring out during a trial? I'm not sure if they would rise to any kind of level of defense, but are you sympathetic towards that, Rachel? And moreover, what would you pick as a juror if you were defending him? Female jurors or male jurors?
Listen, very interesting everything the doctor has said, but I certainly don't think it raises to a level of a defense in this case. I think that in terms of a perfect juror, I don't know, because, you know, there's so much history there. Perhaps a male juror would be better, but this is a really tough case given these outbursts we're hearing from, his history, and the allegations, and the fact that two of the charges, from what I understand, there's DNA evidence linking him to what happened.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the case in Florida, I think with the Kennedys many years ago, where the prosecutor picked an all-female jury, and people thought that she was nuts to do that. But what the defense attorney, and what they found out was that the female jurors tended to blame the victim, if you will, because she did some things that she should have known better to do, and kind of the egged him on scenario, where the males were much more outraged because they, as male conduct, knew that this was something that was absolutely above and beyond what somebody should have done. So it really is a tricky question when you're picking a jury as to what you do for a guy like this. But I think when you show a clip like the clip that you're showing there, I don't think if you're male or female, it's going to resonate well. I look at them seeing him in a predatory way. Do you think so?
Yeah, and I do have a question for Dr. Lieberman as well, really quickly, Bob, if you don't mind if I jump in. I'm just curious, you know, just based, Doctor, on what you saw in the interview and looking into his past, how you could possibly diagnose him with something without actually talking to him in person.
Well, I'm certainly not claiming that I actually examined him or evaluated him, but from my years of experience and from putting his childhood together, the things that I talked about in regard to his childhood and what that usually brings out in a person later on, as well as his behavior in the interview. You know, it was a longer interview than the clips that you've shown so far. So putting that together, yes, of course, with the caveat that this is without my having met him or evaluated him for 10 hours.
Well, okay, well, you know what? I think that what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at one more clip, and we'll be back on the other end.
Quit playing. I didn't do this stuff. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You're killing me, man. This is not about music. I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it. Y'all just don't want to believe the truth. You don't want to believe it.
At this point, we briefly paused the interview to give Kelly a moment. His publicist helped calm him down.
I hope this camera keep going.
No, we're going to let the camera keep rolling.
This is not, doesn't even make sense. Why would I hold all these women?
Yeah, real quick, Doctor, just to follow up on what Rachel was saying, in addition to a clinical interview that you would do in your years of experience, there would be diagnostic testing that would be done from him that is kind of typically difficult for him to malinger on. Do you believe that diagnostic testing is imperative prior to coming to an ultimate conclusion as to what his sequelae is?
No. I don't, you know... I was trained as a psychiatrist at NYU Bellevue and actually at the Freudian Clinic in London. And if we needed to have psychological testing for every patient before making a diagnosis, you know, we'd be bad psychiatrists. But when I do my expert witness work and I testify, I usually do or have done psychological testing, mainly not because it always comes out to what I had thought in the first place, but I do it for the jury because juries like to know that there is some kind of so-called objective evidence of whatever it is that you're saying.
So, Doctor,
as well.
if I'm hearing you correctly, as a treating physician, which we know is clearly different than an expert in court, what more would you need other than what you've told us now in order to make the treating diagnosis, even though you may not need the actual objective testing that you would as a forensic expert in court? What else would you need?
Well, as a treating doctor, I would be seeing him over time, once or twice a week for years. And so when you're treating, you kind of, other than the fact that you might want to give him some medication for his rage outbursts, but other than that, you would be kind of deciding as you go along. You would be looking at him in much more depth. There wouldn't be a reason necessarily. Long-term treatment.
Right. Rachel, he's bringing up this double jeopardy issue, which obviously, I don't know if we need to get into the confusion of, he's essentially, I guess, trying to say in layman's terms, I'm being accused of something that I was acquitted.
Accusations that have come out and he's now facing charges with are completely different accusations and involve different victims from the previous charges he was acquitted from. So clearly double jeopardy does not apply to this situation. And the fact that he kind of defense, in all honesty, is a bit ridiculous.
Okay, well, Imran, I'm now charging you with the responsibility of being the defense attorney for this this gentleman here, and what is your advice to him going forward about doing any more interviews, or how would you start to prepare his defense?
Okay, so first, no more interviews, because you're laying down a track record for the prosecution to use that at trial, if it goes to trial, and you're making yourself it's not a good look. You already don't have a good look in the court of public opinion. Don't make it worse. So no more press interviews as much as you'd like to. In terms of preparing for the defense, well, we're going to look at each of these individuals making claims. I would hire a private investigator to go out and cull together some material for the defense and go from there.
Wow, listen, you guys have been amazing guests. Doctor, thank you so much. It was a great education.